What's up? What's up? It's Mark Barta with Queermosphere, your weekly insight into anything queer. I hope everyone had a nice weekend and is prepared to start that next week. It's going to be cold out there. Pull out those gloves, pull out that winter jacket, wear that hat because it is frigid. Well, let's see what I put out there this week. Out lesbian Tina Kotek wins election as Oregon governor. Republicans could try to pass 3 LGBTQ bills if they win the House. And Black voters overwhelmingly support LGBTQ rights, except when it comes to trans athletes. Don't go anywhere because we're about to get started. If the GOP takes the House, progress in the LGBTQ equality will come to a halt, and the only question will be how much damage can Republicans actually do? With Republicans set to take control of the House of Representatives of the lower chamber, they may get the chance to pass anti-LGBTQ bills that have been stalled under Democratic control. And pro-LGBTQ legislation like the Equality Act, the Respect for Marriage Act, and the PrEP Access and Coverage Act is unlikely to come up for vote next year. Republicans lost control of the House in 2018. Since then, Republicans in state legislatures across the country have tried to pass bills attacking LGBTQ rights, focusing on attacking transgender youth. Hundreds of such bills were filed this past year, and many passed banning transgender youth from participating in school sports, banning teachers from talking about LGBTQ people in schools, and even banning transgendered minors from accessing gender-affirming healthcare. So, the protections for the Children's Innocent Act, that was introduced by Marjorie Taylor Greene in August of 2022 to stop transgendered youth from accessing puberty blockers and other forms of gender-affirming healthcare, despite the evidence that these medical interventions decrease lifelong suicide risk. The project in the Children's Innocent Act would make it a Class C felony for doctors to provide gender-affirming care to minors, carrying a sentence of 10 to 25 years in prison. While the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act, Republicans at the state level have had the most success passing those to ban transgender girls and young women for participating in school sports, effectively banning them from receiving an equal education versus their gender peers, and 18 states have such laws. The bill does not describe exactly how schools would determine sex or what someone's sex assigned at birth is. It is just vaguely stating that sexually recognized based solely on a person's reproductive biology and genetics at birth, and threatening federal funding to schools that don't follow the law, leading some to believe that states might require genital examinations for girls whose gender is challenged by competitors, and enforcement in several states have considered and even passed this into law. Stop the Sexualization of Children Act was represented by Mike Johnson of Louisiana. It would be a federal and much more expansive Don't Say Gay law. The Sexualization of Children Act would cut federal funding to libraries, school districts, hospitals, government entities, and other organizations for hosting or promoting any program, event, or literature involving sexually oriented material. And the bill makes it clear that sexually oriented material includes talking about LGBTQ identities at all, which could lead to every rainbow flag on the doctor's desk being considered sexually oriented material, and puts a hospital's federal funding in jeopardy. Needless to say, if Republicans take control of the House, progress on LGBTQ equity will come to a halt, and the only question again is how much damage can these Republicans actually do? Governor Kotek has made victory as one of the first out lesbian governors in the United States. More victories were had in Massachusetts, as we had another lesbian governor, the first lesbian governor of Massachusetts, which was called earlier, and the two now share the trailblazing title. Kotek is the longest-serving House Speaker in Oregon history and the first to be an out lesbian. She used her position to secure greater LGBTQ rights and to help manage the state's other environmental and social challenges. In a 2021 conversation with LGBTQ Nation about her potential to make gubernatorial history, Kotek said, "It's an honor and frankly a privilege to be a trailblazer in this regard. I think for me it just comes down to what message it sends to young people, and it's still hard out there." She went on to say transgendered individuals are being murdered, kids are being thrown out of their house when they come out to their parents, and it's absolutely essential to see out politician leaders pushing to break down barriers because it sends a message to our young folks that it's going to be okay. She stated that as governor, her top priorities include increasing access to housing and behavioral health services, as well as continued aggressive work on climate action. Congratulations to Governor Kotek. We will be looking forward to seeing all the great, equitable, inclusive decisions that you are making for Orgeon. Representation matters, and thank you for representing the queer populace of Orgeon and around the nation. Black voters overwhelmingly support LGBTQ rights, except when it comes to trans athletes. While Black voters generally support same-sex marriage and LGBTQ anti-discrimination efforts, a majority oppose letting transgendered students play on school sports teams, smashing their gender identity, a new poll has found. The poll found that 70% of Black voters support Congress updating a 1994 Civil Rights Act to protect discrimination based on sexual orientation, gender identity, and this includes 58% of Black voters who identify as conservative. Additionally, 68% of respondents said they supported Congress passing a law to protect same-sex marriages. Respondents' ages affected their opinion on the issue. Roughly 78% of respondents 18 to 29 supported congressional protection for same-sex marriage, compared to just 55% of respondents 65 and above who supported the same action. Despite the respondents' general support of LGBTQ issues, only 43% of respondents supported allowing trans students athletes to compete on sports teams matching their gender identity. Comparatively, 56% of respondents opposed this. The results suggest that the trans community may have to do more to persuade voters about the issue. In this 2021 poll, found that only 42% of U.S. adults personally know someone who's transgendered, and studies have shown that voters are more sympathetic to social groups that they know personally. So a large majority of respondents also agreed that racism was a major problem in the Republican Party, and that the Democratic Party is more committed to electoral integrity than the Republican Party. So what this article basically tells me is trans lives need more exposure. We need to have them more on television. We need more trans story hour. We need to get them into the community and socializing. Trans members of the community start to become members of boards around your city so that your voice and your face is out there. Just start getting involved, because by telling and sharing our story, that is where acceptance comes from. They just don't know anything about you all, and so what you need to do is be an open book, and that's it. Well, that's it for me this Sunday. I hope everyone has a great rest of the weekend and bundles up for the next week, because I don't think we're hitting 70, folks. Do me a favor and follow LGBTQnation.com. If you see an article that you think I should mention in one of my videos, just comment or DM me. And as always, start out by being nice. But if you just happen to be in a bad mood and they're trying it with you, burn the bitch good. Love you all. See you next Sunday.